One of the big buzz things over lunch was we talked about Wild Sorbet and the great frames, and I had mentioned to you guys being able to sell right from the catalogs before, and unfortunately we crashed Wild Sorbet a little while ago, but they're back up now, so that's all good, so go check them out again. But the catalogs, I'm not even sure, this must have been 2011. This is the current one, 2012. But just going through here, as you can see, I now buy catalogs from them because I want to actually give them to my clients because there's just great, fun design ideas all the way through it, and just showing off all the fun frames. And like I said, before I even had one of these hanging in my studio, I could just pull out the catalog and flip through it, and people would, go, well, I got to have that, I want that. And so it's a great selling tool for being able to really have that perception of being a high-end business, a high-end studio, that boutique business that we all want to be. Just by incorporating one little thing that now it's not about selling pictures. It's not just about, the photos, which we all know everybody can do. Not everybody is going to take it to the next level and get something done to hang on their home that's been custom designed for them. And so it's a great way to just set yourself apart and offer something unique. They also, for those of you who can't stand the idea of actually framing yourself, they do offer a service, and it's just a little upcharge on that. And Tana will probably kill me for saying this, but they do it. You can actually have your prints shipped from the lab to Wild Sorbet, and they'll frame them for you and send them to you framed. Traditional framing, that's also available with both handcrafted framing. It's available through ACI, Color Lab. You can order your prints and order your frame right there. It all comes to you finished. So really there's no excuse anymore for not offering that completed service. And even when I was in a home studio, I would literally, I had a roll of carpet that I would roll out on my kitchen table one day a week, do all my framing, roll it back up, it went under my bed. And there's just, in my opinion, just no excuse for delivering a final product instead of a bunch of prints. And you guys probably all know as well, I know when my kids were little, I would go and have them photographed, and I'd get this nice little envelope full of pictures, and it would go in a drawer, And that again, it's almost like a CD. What a disservice to the client to not give them a way to enjoy it every single day. So take it to the next level. All right. This was the other buzz. I should mention this too. This is from Katori, and it's just a leather cuff with a photo charm on it. And this was the other thing that everybody keeps asking about. And so check them out. They've got awesome photo jewelry, and they're really dedicated to the photographer and the business of the photographer. You guys will all get a cool little sales guide from them, how to add on boutique items to your regular sales. But they do not sell to any consumers, only to professional photographers. So,
and could you spell out Katori for those of us?
Katori is K-O-T-O-R-I.
Thank you. And
it's mykatori.com. So that's the other thing. If you go to katori.com, you get something funky. I don't remember what it is, but so it's mykatori.com. All right. Okay, we're moving on to the target client, defining your target client. And so this morning we went through really defining your niche. And I mentioned Dan Kennedy this morning. He's that master marketer that I've always followed. And one of his sayings, his slogans is, there's riches and niches. And I love that because, when you really think about clearly defining that path, you're really, the narrower your focus, the broader your appeal. And we think of specialties or specialists in any category, whatever their business is. People always use the analogy that you don't want to go to a general practitioner when you've got a head injury. You want to go to the neurologist. You want to go to the specialist. And it's kind of that same thing. And I remember being on a plane one time and sitting next to a girl, and she was telling me all about her business, and she designed couture gowns for high school senior proms. And very completely niche. She wasn't doing wedding gowns. She wasn't doing, party dresses, any of these other things. She was high school proms and couture gowns. She let the girls come in and actually design their own gowns. And she was, and you know, she could have sat there and said, I'm a seamstress. And I would have went, oh, that's nice, you know? But she really passionately described her niche, and I'll always remember her, you know? And I think about that as I am out describing my business. And in the beginning, it's so tempting to say, oh, I do a little bit of everything. You know, that's kind of the normal answer. Oh, well, you're a photographer, what do you do? Oh, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, anything. You know, I've even heard people say, you know, well, who's your target client? Oh, anybody with a wallet. I mean, and that just like blows my mind. Have you heard that? Yes. You know, and so you want to get clearly defined. A little bit of everything really means nothing when you're describing it. But if I can passionately describe what excites me, what I love to do, then people will remember that. And what happens, and I told you in the beginning, I was so clearly niched, black and white hand-painted portraits of children. That was on everything. That and real life, those have been my 2 taglines. But that didn't stop people from asking me if I did weddings. And it didn't stop people from asking me if I photographed high school seniors and, you know, these other things, extended families, which is not my favorite thing to do. You know, but what it does is it allows you to be in the place to say no when the time comes, but you can also absolutely take on those things. You know, even being the specialist, they're going to be attracted to you. They're going to be attracted to your style, your personality, and who you are. And that's why people are coming to you, and that's why they're buying your product. Is it's all about you. And so being clearly niched and having that focus that people go, that's the specialist in this. You know, oh, somebody's having a baby, you need to go to her. Or this person is having a family. There's a photographer in Des Moines, that's that town that's 45 minutes from me, that specializes in large family groupings, and they do an amazing job. So for me, that's not my passion. I don't get excited about that. If it's not a past client for me anymore, I don't take those jobs. I refer them to this other photographer. It's actually a father and son, Thomas and Bruce, and they do an amazing, amazing job. Why would I want to kill myself with that business for somebody who's not really my target client when there's somebody else that can do it beautifully? And that also means, you know, I'm building these relationships with other photographers that have specialties, and they're going to refer to me my specialty. So those things are great. Thinking about your target client, think about the power of the edge and being on the edge. There's a book called Love Marks by Kevin Roberts, and part of the message in Love Marks, and the overall message in Love Marks, is to be a brand that your clients can't live without. So one of those things, like if somebody says, what's your favorite restaurant in town? Usually people know right away. What's your favorite place to shop for clothes? And usually people can give you an answer very quickly. Typically, it's not even about just the food or just the, and as you know, Ernie, you know, going in, it's not just that you had delicious food. It was probably because you came out and actually talked to the clients, or because you had a great wait staff, or whatever it might be. When I'm in Ecuador, we go in Cuenca, we go to a restaurant that's known all over the world. And typically, I mean, it's a third world country, and we're in not great conditions all week. And so this one night, we take everybody and we go to this really nice restaurant called Tiesto's. And the chef there comes out to the table, talks to us. He just counts how many people are there. We don't even have to order food. I actually have never, I've been to this restaurant probably a dozen times, and I've never seen a menu. I mean, he just brings it out. He knows I'm vegetarian, so he brings something just for me, an eggplant dish that he makes. It's fabulous. You know, and it's, yes, the food's great, but it's that personal service that makes it a love mark. It makes it, we're taking people there every single time we go to Ecuador. So think about the things that make you stand out, that make you special, those things we talked about earlier that make people want to come back again and again and tell their friends about it too. All right, defining your target client. I don't know, hopefully you guys can read this, but this is just a list of questions, and it doesn't even have to be this specific. This is in your guys' workbook, so you guys have it in front of you. But just for me, anytime that I am going to bring on a new product line, I'm going to start this portrait event system, you know, whatever I'm going to do in the studio, I want to say, okay, who is my target client for this product line? So when we're sitting down and we're creating our high school senior campaign, we're defining our target client. I know, for example, for high school seniors, my target client is not always a senior. I want them to come and I want them to have a great time and I want them to tell their friends about it. But my target client is the mom. I want the mom who wants her daughter photographed like I would photograph my own daughter. If they want bikinis and, hot stuff, then there's another photographer that can do that, and that's great. Again, we can all be in business that way. But I want that mom who says, I know my daughter's gonna feel special and feel beautiful, and Lori's gonna take care of her, and we're all gonna have a great experience doing this together. And it's the mom that's really involved usually in her daughter's session. They've been talking about it and planning about it together for a long time. That's my target client. Where somebody else, the high school senior is going to be their target client. They want them to feel, sexy and outrageous and, and whatever else, and that's great. But we have to know who that target client is before we can start marketing to them. Does that make sense? So defining a target client for a children's product line, these are some questions that you can ask yourself. And you may not have the perfect client to model this after. If you don't, that's okay. You make her up. But we all know somebody that's kind of that picture of that perfect client in our mind. And so just think about that, what that is, who you want to attract. So, how many kids does she have? Is she a brand new mom? Does she have older kids? What does that look like? What does her husband do for a living? Does she work outside the home? Where are her kids in school or daycare? Where does she work out? All these things. We can find out so much about somebody, about their priorities and about what's important to them by really digging in and thinking about where they're spending time and where they're spending money. Those two things are so important to defining your product line. And thinking about, what type of decor does she have? That's kind of a random question, but I'm going to market completely differently to the stay-at-home mom who has Pottery Barn furniture that, the kids crawl on top of, and and it's a place where all the kids come after school, and she's got cookies waiting, and the kids are jumping on the couches, whatever. It's kind of that cozy, homey atmosphere, and I'm going to communicate differently to that mom than the mom who has a career job. She's got white carpeting, and the kids have to take off their shoes when they come in the door. There might even be a room in the house they can't go in. When she is planning parties, it's not cookies after school. It's going to be, bringing in her friends for a cocktail hour or whatever, and you can kind of visualize the profiles in your mind. Neither one is right or wrong, but they're a completely different target. So we have to learn to really define who we want to market to and then market only to that person. And it doesn't mean, again, that other person's not ever going to come to us. We have to know how to communicate to both. But as we're marketing and putting ourselves out there, we're going after one certain target. And by doing that, again, that's going to allow you to really, to be that big splash in a little pond instead of lost in the giant ocean, So think about all of those questions and make up some of your own. And we might even, I don't know if anybody will have time during the break to actually fill out some of this, but it'd be fun to kind of profile one of you guys as target clients. So think about that. Don't write it now. And again, the narrower the focus, the broader the appeal. And I don't know where I first heard that, but I heard it again from Beverly Walden, was doing a program a while back, and she was talking about this very specifically. And again, marketing books that you read now, I read tons of books, and this is a very common theme. The narrower you can get, the broader that you're going to, the appeal is going to be. People want to come to somebody who specializes in something. Larry Winget says, and he wrote The Pit Bull of Personal Development, which is, you have to put your blinders on when you're reading this book because he's pretty crass. But he says, your time and money always follow your priorities. And that is so true. So if you're going through and you're defining that target client and thinking about those two things, think about the life cycle of a client, what they do throughout an entire week or an entire month, and where they're spending time and where they're spending money. And when we can do that, we know so much about what's important to them. We know about what experiences they're going to be expecting from us. We know so many things. So if someone is a Target shopper, they're going to expect a completely different experience than if they're a Louis Vuitton shopper. What are they expecting when they come to you? And so I like to think about all the different places that I go back to again and again. So whether it's a place where I go buy clothes or the car dealership, whatever it is, if I'm making repeat purchases, I stop and think about, okay, why? Why did I go back and buy another Land Rover again when I know that my Land Rover is going to crap out? Because they're known to, but I keep buying them. Oh, don't say that.
I have one.
There's always something wrong with the computer in a Land Rover. Or going back to buy clothes from a certain place because they call you by name when you come in, or they write your name on the door, or whatever those things are. I used to take Jackson to a pediatric dentist, and this was the dentist, and the dentist had his logo was the fun dentist. That was his tagline. And they really marketed that all the way through the entire experience. He would go in and play video games in the ceiling. They had TVs in the ceiling, and the kids, he liked going to the dentist, And one of the things that I learned from this experience was when we would go in to the dentist's office, they would actually call Jackson by name. They would ask him about what sport he was playing right now. They would ask him about Jake the dog. They were asking him all these very personal questions. And, as a mom, it was one of those things that I loved about this place. And we all know if somebody loves your kid, you're going to love that person. And so I appreciated that. Even my 26-year-old, when somebody says something nice about Josh, I really like that person, that makes you feel good as a parent. And so they would ask him these personal questions. And as a business person, I knew there was no way these people remembered all their clients and all these things about all these kids. And so, as a business person, I said, how can I incorporate that into my own business? Well, they're obviously writing things down. So when Jackson comes in and they're asking him questions and he mentions Jake, the dog, they're writing down, Jackson has a dog named Jake. They're writing down that he plays football and basketball and soccer and, everything, baseball, everything he can play. Doesn't play baseball anymore, but at the time, he literally was in every sport, and they were actually communicating that with him. And I loved that. And so that's something that I feel is really important in our businesses, especially because it is relationship driven. We are building, these lifelong relationships. Hopefully, we all want that client for life. And, what better way to do it than to make somebody feel special and feel remembered and, back to that feeling, whatever the word was. Just liked. We all want to feel loved. We all want that admiration, that like button. So, think about ways that you can do that in your business. And it's very, very important to track with your clients from the very first phone call. Start writing things down. Write about the kids and what their likes are and what's our clients that'll come in tomorrow. I asked each one of them, what are they into right now? Tell me the ages of your children and what are they into? And you're going to hear one of those calls in a minute. But, and ask them if they have any food allergies, anything they can or cannot have, or anything that would be fun for them to have. We ask all kinds of questions like that and write everything down. After the session as well, I want to make notes about anything that was discussed during the session or something funny they did, and reuse those things in further communication as well as the thank you notes that we write, and any way we can.
It's just a quick question. Does Preview, by the way, since I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm so excited to use it, does it have a space? You said it had client management in there. Does it have space in there to write about notes? So when I'm booking, then I have it right handy?
It does.
Okay.
Yes. You can track it right in there. It has a place to put all the kids' names, ages, birthdays,
okay.
And then a notes place
notes
that you can take your notes. Yep.
Perfect, because I have a hard time being organized, so I need systems to be organized.
Here we go. All right. So those two things, where is she spending time and where is she spending money? Those are the things that we really want to find out and determine. And we all know that 99.9% of our clients are women. So even when the whole family is there, unless it's an executive headshot, which even with an executive headshot, there's probably a woman who got him there. So our target client is women. And so that's why I keep saying she. But thinking about that whole life cycle of a client really helps you to narrow that down. It also is going to help us develop those relationships, those connections and conversations instead of a sales pitch. And if we really are from the first phone call, really communicating with people about who they are, how they found us, who we're going to be photographing, finding out a little bit more about their personalities even before they walk in the door. We're going to be able to start that communication process. And relationships in general are hard work, and it's no different with our clients. We have to be willing to invest that time in our clients. And I've said for years and years, if one of my clients chooses to go to another photographer for any reason, I have to know that there's some place that I let the relationship down. And so, if you think about it in that way, if I'm cultivating relationships and working on those relationships, they're not going to go anywhere else. They're invested in us as people. So that all starts from getting to know who they are just by kind of narrowing in on that target market. It creates instant connectivity when you meet with these people for the first time. Typically, if you have really clearly defined your target market, once you start working with people and they start referring you to other people, all of a sudden you've kind of got this little tribe that all knows each other. And and I've had people say to me all through the years, you photograph everyone in the world. Like that's what they think because I photograph their 5 best friends, but once you start photographing one person and it has that ripple effect and they talk about it, and then even as you're bringing people together for an open house or something that you have going on, even if you don't have a place personally to do an open house, you can partner with another business. And that's the next thing that happens once you go through that list of defining your target client. Not only are you looking at the people, but you're looking at the businesses to connect with. So all of it just provides all that instantaneous connectivity. These days, the statistic is that just like in the last 5 years, I think the statistic was, there's a 75% increase in advertising, and we are all paying less and less attention. So, advertising isn't the way to go anymore. We all have to do this personal relationship marketing. That's what's going to take your business to the next level. In Zag, and I mentioned Zag already, but he says we're exposed to over 3,000 marketing messages a day, and we can only even recognize 100 of them. And 100 that is a lot of marketing messages. But I don't know about you guys, but back in the MySpace days, we talked about that, I'm already dated, but back in the MySpace days, I remember standing behind JC, my daughter, one day, and we were sitting there and she was on MySpace, and there was this ad that popped up and this ad that popped up and something else blinging over here and all this stuff going on. I was like, oh my gosh, doesn't all that stuff drive you crazy? And she's like, what? And I said, all those ads and all, and she's like, what are you talking about? And it knocked me over the head that we have so much overload of information and technology and distraction and all these things going on all day long for all of us. And a lot of it, we just it doesn't even faze us anymore. You guys probably all know, when we first started on Facebook, we really paid attention to those ads that would come up on the side. Now, they're even more and more and more personal to each one of us individually. Not all of us see the same ads. None of us see the same ads. They are totally related to the things you click on, the people that you follow, the pages that you like. They are completely targeting what you're seeing on the side of your page, but none of us see it anymore. Rarely. So I think that's a pretty powerful message to think about, that the more personal that we can get, the more powerful our marketing is going to be, even into the referrals and some of the other ways that we can build those relationships and keep it going. So from that target market list, you can develop a list of marketing partners. And I mentioned to you guys before about displays and how displays built my business in the beginning. And I totally believe in that. However, and not that you should not try to build relationships and get displays, but in 2012, and we're almost to 2013, it is getting more and more difficult to get displays because there are so many people going after them. And that's one of the things that I hear a lot from photographers is, well, everything in my area is already has a photographer in it. And and what I want to propose to you is that you don't just think, for example, with the children's product line, we're thinking about children's boutiques, maybe a pediatrician. We kind of have this streamlined thought process. I can't even think about the streamlined process anymore because I think about the big picture. But going through that list, if you'll really think about those things and go through those questions, where is she buying her kids' clothes? Who is she buying her house from? Where is she buying her car? Whatever those things are, if you can do that and really think about where that person is spending time, spending money, then you've got this list of marketing partners. And even if it's not a display, you can work with another business to go in on a gift certificate. You can work with another business to do maybe a monthly gift basket where you've got 6 businesses coming together, and each of the 6 businesses is getting drawings for the monthly prize that has a prize from every one of the vendors, all 6 businesses. So at the end of the month, one person gets all the names from all the different businesses, compiles a list, so you're all growing your list, and one person gets the prize from all 6 businesses. So, there's different ways that you can work with people. One of the things that I've done in the past that has worked really well for me was to work with specific businesses to do a gift basket. So the gift basket would have something specific to what I want to photograph. So example would be a toy that they sold, or something that I could actually purchase from the business. And then in that gift basket would also be a gift card to the studio. And it is for the amount of a session. So if my session fee is $185, I'm going to do like a $150 or a $200 gift card, basically is what it is. But I'm going to allow that business to sell that gift basket, and they're going to get to keep 100% of the profit. And I will tell you, if you'll go into it with the mindset that I'm targeting this business because they have my target client, they have the person that I want to photograph. So if I can go into it with, I want their business, how can I get them to give me their business? By providing them with a product to sell that they get 100% of the profit on, there is nothing else in their business that they can sell and have all of the money from it. Anything that we buy, we've got to put a markup on, we have to take out cost of sale. They're going to get it all out of this. I'm going to get a qualified client in my door. And so who can tell me what is going to happen? When they call and they book a session, they say, I bought this gift certificate from such and such, or got this from someone who purchased it, and they call and say, I'd like to book my session. Does anything else come with that, Janice?
Yeah. No. So then you're only giving them the free session. Then they're going to come in. So you're going to say, well, the session is free, is included in the gift certificate, and then you're open to buying any of the products we offer. Something like that?
Something like that. So yes, we're going to walk you right through the process just like a regular client.
Okay, just like a regular client.
If
okay.
there's anything you'd like to purchase, that's great.
Okay.
If not, that's okay too.
Okay, perfect.
Typically with gift certificates, a little bit different if it's purchased. But anything that you want to give away like that, that's definitely the answer. But there's all kinds of things that you can do to partner up with other businesses. I've worked with different businesses on anything from going in and doing I hate to call it a lecture because that sounds bad, but doing a little mini seminar for them or whatever, and it might be on hanging portraits in your home, designing with portraits. It might be taking better pictures of your kids at home. It could be any number of topics that might be of interest of them, but it's getting me in front of their client. And again, if I've targeted my target client, if I know where she is, I want to be there. I want to get there however I can. So any of those places that you can network with, market with. A lot of times when I'm going in and I know I want to work with another business, I'm not going in and saying, hey, I'm a photographer and I want to come hang some pictures in here. Anybody today is going to say, I don't think that's going to work, But what I want to do is instead I want to go in and just say, I'd love to sit down and chat with you for about 5 minutes. I love what you're doing here, and I've got some ideas on ways that we might partner up together and do some marketing together, and I've got some ideas that won't cost you anything, and I'd really love just 5 minutes of your time and and hear your ideas as well. And so it puts the ball back in their court, and just getting that 5 minutes often leads into a great relationship that we can network and partner together. Yes.
All right, so we have some questions for the audience, and just a couple. One from Lana Banana, whose name I just love in the chat room. And she's asking, are you just talking about small businesses to partner up with? What about big stores like Victoria's Secret if I photograph boudoir or beauty?
A lot of the big stores are corporate and chains, and so it's not impossible to get in with them, but you have to go beyond the management. Victoria's Secret actually might be one. I used to have a friend who was a manager for Victoria's Secret, and it might be one that you could actually work with someone local. I know, for instance, Pottery Barn, they bring in local interior designers that host workshops within the Pottery Barn stores. And if you could get partnered up with one of them and do, like a little interior design class on arranging portraits or designing with portraits, again, you could use Preview and just, do that, design with Preview right there. I work with a couple of interior designers in Des Moines that actually use that Preview software just like I do. And what I found, and this is kind of off topic, but what I found with interior designers is I had a couple years where I would have clients that would say, either my interior designer says not to hang family portraits on my lower level, or they would say, like just random things, like my interior designer says, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that in regards to family portraits, and I'd be like, punch them in the face. But what I found in going to interior designers and saying, hey, I would love to work with you, finally, one gal, and it was when I was living in Colorado, I just asked her, and I said, why would you tell a family that they shouldn't hang a family portrait on their wall? I mean, that's celebrating the life of the family. That doesn't make sense to me. And she said, well, we don't make commission on family portraits. Hi, I mean, ding, ding, ding. And so I said to her, how would you feel if I gave you a commission on selling family portraits? And she became a salesperson for me. And so now that's any interior designer that I can work with. If they sell the grouping, the commission's theirs. And typically it's going to be higher than our salespeople because they're used to earning between 10 and 15% on a piece of art that they would hang on a wall. So that's what I give them. And I'll even ask them, what's the typical commission on a canvas that you would sell from this XYZ store or whatever that they work through. And they'll tell me, and so I'll tell them, if you secure a client for me and design a wall gallery, that 15% is yours. So that has gotten me some really, really good clients to work with. And, and working with somebody that they already trust as their designer, and then that designer, instead of telling them, oh, don't hang family portraits on your bottom level, that's tacky. And whoever would say that anyway, but instead of saying that, they're now saying, this would be the perfect place for a family grouping. This is where you eat dinner together every evening, and what a better place to enjoy a family moment together. And now they're selling it instead of objecting to it.
Would you cold call? Oh, so sorry. But would you cold call interior designers?
Sure.
Like if I don't know any interior designers in my neighborhood, although I know some people must use interior designers, I could ask my friends who they're using, I guess. And then would you just approach them, like cold call them?
Absolutely. Same thing. You'd call them just like a display. You'd just call them and say, hey, I love what you do. Mm-hmm. If you do ask a client, then say we have this client in common.
Okay.
And here's what I'm looking at doing in her home or whatever. But you can say, I'd love to sit down with you and chat on how we might network together. I've got some ideas for you, and I'd love to hear yours.
Brilliant. You're fabulous, Lori.
Was there another question?
There was. Jen Cord would like to know, or Jen Cord 1, says describe what an example of display, where you did it, what you did on the display. What is a display essentially?
Okay, what is a display? And a display is going to be typically almost like I have hanging here. It's going to be a series of images or a grouping of images. You always want to show what you want to sell, even if it's in another business. And so, for example, we could go to a children's toy store and say, I love what you guys are doing. I have a lot of clients who are buying toys from you. I even have had a few incorporated into sessions. I'd love to sit down with you and talk about how we might partner up on some marketing. I've got some great ideas for you, and I would love to hear yours. And then I'm going to go to that toy store. I'm going to go to that children's furniture store. I'm going to go to, the baby boutique. I have a display in an eye doctor's office, and typically you wouldn't think about an eye doctor office, but this eye doctor office has a very high-end clientele. They're in a very high-end area in Des Moines, and I knew that's where my target client was, So I went to them, that same conversation, after sitting down with them, and yes, I wanted a display out of it, but I'm not going to go in there saying that. I'm going to sit down and start building the relationship. I'm going to talk to them about who their market is and who, what kinds of things they're doing to market and how I could help them. One other thing that I will say this is a huge tip for anyone that's considering doing this, whether it's just networking with another business or actually hanging a display. But one of the things that I found years ago was I would go in and I'd put a beautiful display in and leave them a stack of cards, and they would be, thrilled and excited, and we love all your stuff. And I wouldn't get any business from it. And it's not really even about honest, and I'll explain this a little bit more. I'm taking away from some of my slides, but that's okay. But they would throw them in the trash or put them in a drawer or whatever, and the cards wouldn't go out. And so what I learned was if I can go to that person and say, say it's a toy store, what bit of information would you like to have in every single one of your clients' hands? And everyone will tell you something. They all want something, whether it's a children's bookstore or, they're going to say the types of books and how they're labeled for each stage. They're going to, toy store is going to talk about developmental toys, and what's appropriate at which stages again. A pediatrician office might talk about the best time to take your child from liquids to solid foods. It's always something that they want to convey, the message they want to convey. And so what we do is then create that piece for them that has the message on it, and then on the back of it, it has my information. And so my information gets in every single person's hands because it also has the message that they want on it. So that was a huge turning point for me in my displays. However, with displays, one of the things that make them very profitable and get you new clients is actually hanging the displays. And so a lot of times I'm talking to photographers and they, I got this great display at the store and here's what's going on. And they're taking stuff off of their studio walls or they're buying stuff from past sessions and they're hanging it. Well, that defeats the whole purpose of the display. The display is to get new clients. So I want to talk to the toy store owner and I want to say, and of course this is after we've built this relationship, we've started talking about how we can partner together. We're talking about, hey, let's do a newsletter together once a month. I'll, photograph a special family for you and we can feature them in the newsletter. Newsletters should always be about somebody else besides you, or your sale that you've got going on or whatever else. They should be celebrating someone else. That's going to get your message out. But, we're going to partner up on these different things. And then I'm going to say, I would love to hang some fun portraits in here of kids just playing with your toys. How would you feel about that? And, of course, we're incorporating what they do. Yeah, that's a great idea. I would love that too. And so my first thing is going to be to ask them, whether it's the owner or manager, whoever I'm talking to, who's important to you? Do you have a child, a grandchild, whatever the situation is, that you would like to be photographed? Everybody has somebody special to them. So they're going to tell me. I'm going to say, great. What other key employees do you have that you would like to celebrate and get up on the walls? And they'll tell me. And then I'll ask them, do you have maybe a list of 5 to 10 of your very best clients, the people who come back again and again? And they'll say, yeah, we've got some great clients that we love. Well, let's celebrate that relationship that you've built with them. I'll call them for you and I'll let them know we're going to do new artwork at the toy store and they've chosen you to be the models. And that way we're celebrating the relationship that you've built. We're giving them a reason to shout out to all their friends, to come in and buy toys from you and to see their portraits. We can really start building this idea of community. And so now we're not just talking about, I want to hang pictures in your store because it's all about me and I want new clients. We're talking about them and the benefits to them, and I'm getting new clients out of it by saying, let's celebrate your favorite people and put those people in the gallery, in the portraits. And so what happens then, Janice, is I'm going to call those people and I'm going to say, hi, this is Lori Nordstrom, and I'm working with XYZ Toy Store, and we're doing new artwork there in their business, and they have chosen your family, your kids, to be the models for that new artwork. And so we're going to chat. I've done this over 12 years of time. I even did it for Tim Flanagan 15 years ago, went and got displays for him. Nobody's ever said no.
But when you use the word model, I would be scared to say model for you because then they'd be like, well, that implies my child should be getting paid if you want me to model. Like, is there a danger of using that word, or rather should you use featured?
I've always, featured is a great word. Thank you.
I would probably use featured.
I
don't want them to think I'm paying them.
I've always have used model, but I live in the Midwest. There are no models.
I live in Vancouver, BC. Those parents are way more into
You know, in LA, you'd probably have to say featured.
Featured.
Yeah.
Okay, featured.
So, so really, I think that's pretty territorial, but that's great. Featured is a great word.
Okay.
But they've chosen your family to be featured, your children to be featured, whatever that is.
Okay.
And again, no one has ever told me no. But what happens is they will either then or very soon after on the consultation call or whatever the next step is, they will say, am I going to get to see all these? Am I going to get to buy something? They will ask you.
Okay.
And so what happens is, absolutely, we're going to bring you right through the process, hold your hand just like a regular client. You're going to get to come and see all your images. Anything you'd like to purchase, that's great. If not, that's okay too. So we've walked them through this process again. I have a new client. It's now my job. I've got the right client in my door. I'm providing them the service, giving them the experience, photographing them, and so now it's my job to turn them into a client. But it does happen every single time, and so what happens for these displays is I am purchasing the display, so whether it's a canvas wrap or, and that's all going to be based on the business decor as well, because I want to hang something that looks great in their space. So like for the eye care center, they have canvas gallery wraps hanging there. They've got real traditional furniture. It's office space, And then I have other places where I've got wild sorbet. I've got other places where I've got traditional framing. And so it all just is based on their decor style. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to come in and snap a picture of their walls, load it into preview, design their walls for them. I don't even put pictures in them. I just show them, what their space is going to look like with framing or with a canvas wrap or whatever. And it's very hard for someone to say no to that when it's not costing them anything, They're excited about it. They're thrilled, and they're even excited about sharing their clients with them. The one thing that I will do, I've had a couple businesses here and there that don't want to give me a list of 10 names. They would rather make the phone call themselves, and so I just write out a little script for them. And it's basically the same thing, hey, this is such and such from the toy store, and we're going to get new artwork here. We've got a photographer that's going to be photographing a few families, and we love your kids so much. We love seeing them in the store, and we want to see their faces every day. Whatever the case is, we're going to write out a little script for them so that they can make that phone call. Then they make the connection with me, and then I can go on from there.
What happens when you deliver the display? And then do you make an associated marketing piece for them or for you, or how do you draw attention?
It's that same piece. It's going to be that piece that, what message do you want to put in every person's hands? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to create that piece for them and put my information on the other side. Mm-hmm. So it's, and again, that is an initial expense. However, it's something that is guaranteed that they're going to put in every bag, that they're going to hand to every person. And so, if you consider that, if that expense is paid for once, and you get one client out of it,
it's a return.
It's a return, yeah.
You have different releases for every single session that you do in terms of
I have a model release, is that what you're asking? Mm-hmm. Yes, every session I photograph, everybody signs a model release. Yes. One of the things that, also doing it this way, they already know they're going to be on display. Mm-hmm. And as you'll see tomorrow, everybody will sign a model release that comes. But I will tell them, this is so that we've got the paperwork all taken care of. If we use your images on the website or on the blog or, in the mall, whatever, we've got the paperwork taken care of. But I will let you know before that happens. And so they do have the opportunity. And we may have had one or two people in all of the years I've been doing this that have said, I don't want my child, these days, and I could see that happening early on in the digital world, but these days, anybody can find out anything about anybody anytime. So,
do you use a model release app? Do you have one on your iPhone, or do you have a paper?
I have both.
Okay.
And I do use the app when I'm on location,
mm-hmm.
but
is there one that you recommend?
I take paper pretty much.
Is there an app that you recommend? There's so many. I've been looking through different ones, and I'm like, how do I choose which one to use?
I'll find the name of it. If you guys remind me at the break. Catherine Hall has a model release app, and I don't remember the name of it. Do you?
I remember it was like America's Next Top Model, so it was like the Next Top app. We'll find it.
Okay. Sorry, I've been researching them and I haven't been able to choose, so I was wondering. Okay.
And there's some great apps out there, and especially now when you can just take a little snapshot of them, they sign right there on your phone. So there's absolutely no way they could ever say they didn't sign a model release, you know?
Do you incorporate the model release into your contracts? Like, do you have people sign contracts when you book sessions, or?
I don't have contracts, and honestly, I think that's I think that's a style issue, you know, and it's all personal. There are some people that are very, you know, contract and policy driven. I don't have one policy written anywhere. I don't have a contract written anywhere. For me and my personality, it's so much about the relationship that it would not even be right for me to slide a contract over and have somebody sign it. You know?
The only reason I get signatures on mine is because my model release is in it, and I don't know why I do.
Everybody
that.
signs a model release, and you guys will see that, and actually you have a copy of it. But at the bottom and everyone who purchases will have that as well. It's a client profile sheet that they fill out with all their information, and then it's a model release and notice of copyright. So that's all verbally communicated. That's one of the things that I like about having a piece of paper is I can actually just talk to them about it. They can stay positive. It's all fun, happy, and you know they sign it, and it's good to go.
And that app is called the Top Model Release app by Catherine Hall, and that's topmodelrelease.com. Or I think you can find it in iTunes.
Release. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ernie?
Question. I mean, all the marketing piece, and a lot of it, I look at it and I go, okay, this is just grassroots marketing, you know? I mean, everything is okay, almost. But lately, I've been getting hounded by Living Social and Groupon. So thoughts on, because I'm in the stage where I'm going, how do I accelerate the business? And some people have said you should try that. And I went,
because they're not their client.
And I went,
They're not your target
I
client.
don't know. I don't know about that. And so thoughts on that.
Well, I actually did a Living Social thing. And the reason I did it is because I was starting a new photographer in the studio. And so I wanted to just jumpstart her and get her shooting. And so we did a higher end deal. It was, a session and a couple of portraits. I don't remember exactly what it was. They really pushed me to do digital files because that's what everybody does. And I did not do it. I refused. And we kept with our product line, and we did it. And it was fine for what it was, but exactly what Jana said, it's not your target client. And if you can really think about who your target client is, and I know, there's probably somebody out there who is your target client that buys restaurant deals on Groupon or whatever. But I know most of the people that I know, they would never take a coupon into a restaurant, a high-end restaurant. They just would not do that. I've got friends who buy when Jackson's out selling football cards that have the discount on them, they'll buy them to support the football team, but they would never take it in someplace to use. So you have to kind of think that through when you're thinking about who your target client is and what you want to accomplish with it. If it's just to build a portfolio, it's a great thing to do because it gets you shooting, But if you want to make money with it or reach somebody that's going to continue to come back to you, it's not a good reason.
Yeah.
I got to get back and focus here. Kind of went off there for a little bit. And we're going to come back through display slides, so I'll have to just flip through them. But if we have any questions when you get there, you guys can ask. But starting your list of contacts. And once you've determined who your client is, your target client is, excuse me. And again, I'm gonna do this for any product line that I start. So when I decided back in 2009 we're gonna do Real Kids as a product line.
Feel free to take a minute and have some water there, Lori, because we'll just.
I'm just gonna go chug some of this for a second.
We'll just edit that out. How are you guys doing?
You're doing great.
How are you guys doing out there in the audience? It is that time of year for sure. Let's see. Has anybody else? Let's see. Jinx Studio said just bought the model release app. Have any of you guys ever used?
I use SignEasy on my iPad, and I've tested it out a couple times, and I actually really like it. It's you can upload your own custom PDFs, and you can your clients can sign within the app, and you can also edit things in. You can add dates and times and that kind of thing. And so far, I like it, but I think I'm going to phase out contracts completely and just focus on model releases now. So it might be obsolete, but it's a good app. SignEasy.
Yeah, and that's for contracts.
Any PDF. You can upload any PDF that you need signed that's branded with your logo and everything.
Cool.
And, yeah, and then you can email it. You email it to your clients, and it's pretty useful. Yep.
Yeah, so the only thing that I've ever had a contract for was when I did a hospital display. But that was a job that I was commissioned for, had to bid, get the job, and then I hung 50 30 by 40s in this hospital. And then when they did a second hospital, they did like a women's facility, second hospital, they commissioned me to do that one as well. So twice I've had a contract for anything in the 15 years I've been doing business. So, but again, I think that's a personality thing, and not necessarily probably not the best business decision I've ever made. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the way to go. I'm just saying that, and honestly, anything that we talk about today, tomorrow, Sunday, I will never ever say this is the only way. This is the best way. This is what's worked for me, and hopefully everybody can take bits and pieces of what's worked for me and make it work for you. And and that's part of the process that we went through this morning, is really thinking about your strengths and who you are and your personality. And it all melds into the rest of this process. It melds into putting this system into place and making it work for you. Because if it comes from you to start with, you're going to be able to make it work, for who you are. So that's why I took you through that process in the beginning, and we didn't just jump into here's how to do this portrait system, because I wanted you to have some groundwork and some basis for whatever you decide to do. So going through this and defining that target client and making that list of business contacts and people contacts, you can start thinking of people that you might want to contact for your first portrait event. And that's going to be your host contacts. And and I've said that this works for even people that are brand new to an area or starting over. And from my perspective in my business, when I started the Real Kids events, it was for a little bit lesser of a product line than I have in the studio. It's 20% off, it's packages, it's different. But for somebody else, it may be, Ernie, I got to stop selling DVDs. I got to do a whole different product line to market to a different segment of the marketplace. I'm going to do this higher end. It's going to be different. And what happens when you can do that is it only has to start with one person. Mm-hmm. One host is all you need. So even if you're brand new to a place, you may see somebody at church and you think, she is beautiful, or her kids are beautiful, she dresses stylishly, like she's the person that I want to take shopping with me, pick out clothes. Go chat with her and tell her, this is something that's going on in my business. I would love to sit and chat with you about it. You seem like you're so well connected and very put together, and I would just love to chat and get your ideas. And a lot of times it just does take just sitting down with that one person, and even if they believe you're just bouncing ideas off of them, you're going to get some great feedback on what you're doing. So start making that list and think of different people, and it's the same process, and we'll walk through this. Thank you. Creative Live has this magic tea that I started drinking yesterday when I got here and started feeling better almost instantly. So they've been feeding it to me all day.
Is it throat coat?
It's it's some throat coat thing.
Oh, that stuff's amazing.
And I came yesterday like I couldn't even swallow. My throat hurt so bad, and now I'm talking all day, so it's magic. Let's see. So those host contacts as well as those business contacts, but I think I may have already said that, that you're going to create your business contacts with it.